All right, guys, welcome to Rise and Thrive. I'm joined with my co-host here, Reid Presley, superstar world champion martial artist. How you doing today?
Doing good. Doing good.
So let's just start with this. You just finished 75 hard, started January 1st, 75 hard. Give me kind of, hopefully you guys have heard about what this is. Give me your take on, you've done it a few times, but what was different this time? What did you like? What did you learn?
Absolutely.
What did you gain from it?
So 75 hard, just for those of you that do not know what 75 hard is, it's created by Andy Frisella.
Which you get to go see in a little bit.
Yeah, I get to see him into mid-April. Yeah. So basically you got to drink a gallon of water a day. You got to do 45-minute workouts. One has to be outside. You have to read 10 pages. You have to stick to a diet. No alcohol or cheat meals. And you have to take a progress picture every single day. Every time I do that, I feel like I forget one of the tasks going on. So if you are going to do it, get the app because it definitely helps you stay on pace.
Now, if you forget something, you start over, right?
That's right.
You're supposed to.
I got to go back to the beginning right now.
What did you gain from it? Right? Are you in better shape mentally where you are? Like, what was the whole point of doing it?
So I'll just kind of hit both times. The first time I did it, which was basically January 2nd, January 3rd of last year. Okay. That one was just like a mental discipline revamp, like shake everything back up again, get me back on track. For those of you that don't know, I've trained martial arts, competed at the highest levels, would work out every single day. And then I kind of gravitated away from that a little bit, kind of got a little bit more soft mentally, fell into some, bad habits that were not productive. So the first time I did the 75 hard, it was just that, defibrillator to the disciplinary system again,
right.
Get back motivated and kind of put me on track to have a successful last year. This one was more about, taking control of the things that I can control and building a morning routine or building things throughout the day that I have control of, that I can find success in every single day, and then use that momentum to be able to find success in the things that I can't control. So the big takeaway from this one was just the superpower, is kind of what I call it, of fully understanding what all the entrepreneurs talk about of the morning routine, of like waking up, immediately doing like your outdoor walk, outdoor workout, then reading, then having coffee, then writing your goals down. Like, I already could start the day off with some level of success. So it didn't matter what I got hit. As soon as someone wakes up, whether it's, you're going into work, going to an office, or it's your significant other, as soon as other people are in your life, you immediately have things that you have to start thinking about, taking into the equation, and that can kind of work against you in your mentality. So waking up early, having that morning routine, having that control definitely would lower any kind of anxiety, lower any kind of self-doubt, because you were starting the day with controlled success, which then trickled into other success throughout the day. I don't know if that's pretty clear or not, but
so and your girlfriend was doing it with you?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Who was better at it doing it?
I don't know. She
how to put you on the spot?
Kenna, she went through, I guess what I can say is the first time I did the 75 hard, I was working full-time job, so like definitely had to get creative with the schedule to fit it all in.
So you're not working now?
This time, what is work when you're loving what you do, right?
Good.
But
it's still work.
Still a lot of work.
It's more work.
Maybe more, because you can't turn it off. You're just working always. But with this one, I had more control of my schedule per se. When you're traveling, it was tough. But the reason why I even bring that up is Kenna, working inside of a martial arts school, sometimes you have those long 10 to 12-hour days, depending on what you're doing there. She would not count teaching for 6 hours as one of her workouts.
I don't blame her. That's her job.
Exactly. So like sometimes she would wake up early enough to do both workouts before going to work. Sometimes I feel like maybe once or twice she had to do both workouts after teaching all day. Yeah, and there's a 3-hour gap in between your workouts. So because Andy had to just make it even more complicated. You can't go 45 minutes and then 45 minutes.
Yeah, right. You got to have a break in between.
You got to break it up. So
all right. Well, so you did my morning routine, or part of it, with me this morning. I definitely think getting up in the morning, tackling your day, taking time for yourself, growing. one of the mistakes I see people make is for entrepreneurs starting a business, for someone starting a new job, someone starting a new, hobby in life. It's real easy to be super gung-ho at the beginning and be motivated, be encouraged because it's new, right? And then it's like when that fades away, that's when people give up a lot of times, right? So they start a job, they're all excited, something new, they're learning, they're talking about all the time. You get a new car, you start a new gym routine, you're talking about all the time. 3 months later, all of a sudden they don't have that same enthusiasm. So I think having your morning routine or your discipline that you start off with, whether it's reading, working out, I think a lot of people neglect that. So they get up. And I'm gonna tell you what happened to me is like when COVID happened, I got up because we're all working from home at that time. Some of us still staying there. And so I get up, I literally go to my office in my house, start working, and I didn't take care of me. I didn't read, I didn't work out. So not only was I gaining weight, but I was honestly losing my edge, which was discipline's an edge, right? So, you coming from a competitive world of martial arts, when, to win, you can't just, I'm sure there's times where you didn't have stack competition or it was a weaker event, but most of the time, like for you to win consistently, the discipline isn't the day of the event. The discipline's the 3 months before and what you're doing regularly, right? So that's the key. I think if you're doing something like SemiFarter or whatever routine, besides the fitness, hopefully your health improving, things like that, is the discipline. We did cold plunge this morning. Reid made
like a minute and a half. It wasn't very long.
Reid made 90 seconds. His girlfriend made almost 4 minutes. So he's gonna have to try again tomorrow, try to beat her. But I don't even know, like, I know there's health benefits and there's science and all that. I just like the discipline of getting up and doing it. And like, after you do it, the rest of the day is easier, right? So I don't know if you ever heard of swallow the frog. Have you heard of that before?
Yes, sir.
So, that's kind of the goal with any discipline in the morning, because then work is work, whether you work for yourself, work for someone else, matter of fact, if you work for someone else, you probably don't work as hard as you work for yourself. And I'd say that because I guarantee if you work for someone else, there's a period of time you pull up your phone, you're looking at Facebook, you're doing something like that. Matter of fact, if you're an entrepreneur listening to this, you probably waste some of your time thinking that you don't have enough time, but you're probably wasting your time doing stuff that's either remedial tasks. Somebody else should be doing that job. You don't realize you can afford to figure out how to do that, right? So those are some of those things. Switching gears, right? Because we're at two different spots in life, but you made a comment yesterday. We were just having a conversation that sometimes you feel like we're the same age.
Yeah.
Right. So what do you kind of mean by that when you said that? What was that comment?
So I believe.
By the way, you're
27.
You're right. So what was that? You're about 15 years younger. Right. So we're about the same age. I'm 15 years older. He's 15 years younger.
Yep.
What do you mean by that when you say that?
So it came up in a conversation, I believe the first time with brother Cole Presley. We have all kinds of, we need to do a podcast called like the Pondering Presleys.
I should, yeah.
We talk about all kinds of stuff, but it's like we both have a really great understanding of time, like as far as its value and like it passing. But at the same time, in the same sentence, we could also say it's hard to gauge that someone else has either been on this planet longer or less. And when we're in the room with people for a period of time, it's almost like we're all the same age. We're like, we should all be doing the same thing, or like it's actually really hard to explain now that I'm trying to explain it.
Right.
It's more of like a feeling, but it's like,
well,
what do I need to learn to reach that level? Why can't I be there at my age?
Right.
We all have the same time.
So in your mind, you see me and you're like, all right, I can do what he does. I know what he knows. Why don't I have it right now? Is that kind of where I'm hearing?
Kind of, not in like a jealousy or a greed, but like
right.
an achievable thing.
I'm with you.
If he can do it,
right,
then I know that it's possible. Still made, not that you're not amazing. You know what I'm saying?
I'm with you.
And like,
so yeah,
what is it going to take to do it faster? Maybe, or we're on this.
And so though, but I hear it the other way around. I'm like, when you said a comment, like I said, it hit me. I'm like, all right, we are the same age, and because I feel like I'm where you are, like I'm just getting started, right? Like it might seem that I'm further ahead, and I should be 15 years in the future, but I'm just now understanding potential. So like, I think something that plagues, we talk about small thinking, but something that plagues people is you have no idea. You really don't. There's no way for you to know 40 years in the future what you're actually capable of and what's your potential. And so like when you say we're like the same age, like why can't I already be doing all these things? I'm the other way. I flip it and I'm like, shit, you and I are the same. Like I'm still a baby. I'm still learning. I have no idea. I'm just getting started, which excites me because then there's this time thing where what if I only have 40 years left? What if, right? There's not enough time for me to do all the things I want to do in life. So I'm struggling with the idea of like I'm going to go to flight school later this year to learn how to fly a plane because I'm like, that's a skill I want to have. That's one. If the world ends, I think it's a great skill to have. If the world doesn't end, it's a great skill to have. Hopefully the world's not ending, but like I'm excited about learning something that scares the hell out of me. Now, here's the real challenge. Who's going to get in the plane with me once I have my license, right? Like, what I'm saying, some people are going to be like, oh shit, but you'll get in the car with me. Like my son's about to get his learner's permit. Your sister's probably about to get hers. Like, I don't want to get in the car with them, but we'll let teenagers who are young and dumb, no matter how smart, like your sister's pretty dope and my son's pretty cool. But no matter how young and dumb, you remember how you were driving at 16. You know what I'm saying? So like we'll let that happen. So anyway, my point is I'm excited about growth and I feel like I'm going to run out of time. That's my biggest fear. My biggest fear is I don't reach my potential. Yeah. Somebody that we both kind of mentored through from proximity through YouTube and things like that is Ed Milet. And he talks about like, his version of heaven and hell. You know the story, right? How he sees this. It's like when you die, right? And you meet your maker, you end up meeting the version of the person you were designed by God to become. And then heaven is you're the same person.
Yeah.
Hell is you can't even recognize that person, right? And I love that analogy. So like I use that as a guide for me. If I wake up today, no matter where I'm at in life, and by the way, I'm not perfect, and I screw this up more times probably than I get it perfect. But how many times in my life have I gotten up, had a great day, Like today, we're gonna have a great day. We're gonna spend the day together. We're gonna have a great day. Like I don't see any negativity in the world right now. It was snowing when we came in this morning. Yeah. We did a cold plunge. That I did cardio. I don't know what you did. You did some cardio. But we're gonna have a great day. But the day's gonna end, and it's like, was it just a great day, or did I learn something today? Did I grow something today? And so if you can just move the needle a little bit closer to your potential, and the reality is like you don't know actually what your potential even is.
Right.
That's the scary and crazy thing. So when I see someone who's worth $1 billion that were self-made, here's a stat. So there's 330 million roughly people in America. Have I told you this already? I think so, right? Text you. There's like 330 million people in America, roughly. There's 30 million people worth $1 million or more. So let's say 9% of the population is worth $1 million. If you think about that, so for every 10 people, one person's probably a millionaire, worth $1 million. And it's actually not hard to be worth $1 million, right? You can own a house, have some equity there, own some cars, have a business, whatever. 17 million people in America have a $5 million net worth or more. And what's crazy about it is, I forgot the exact number, but something like 93 or 95% of those people were self-made. It's like a crazy amount. And actually, I think it's more. I think 3 or 4% inherited it. The rest of them created it. So when I see people who've done that, like kind of like you're saying, like we're the same age, I'm like, shit, they're not as smart as me. They're not as pushing. Like, what did they do? They took action.
Yeah.
They didn't like think about get everything perfect. Our website's got to be perfect. They took action. So my biggest thing that I'm always scared about is, did I just live the day today, or did I actually like move forward today?
Yeah. I think it's always cool, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, so I could be wrong. Don't hold me accountable.
Probably is wrong.
But yeah. But whatever percentage you said of people that have made $1 million.
Yeah.
And then whatever percentage of those have made 5 million or more, it was like almost most of the people that made it made the 5, made the 5.
Oh yeah,
yeah. The people that understand how to get to the 1 get to the 5. Not many people probably stop after the 1.
Well, I'm sure we'll talk about this on future episode, and we talked a little bit about this today. Is like no one. I say no one. I'm generalizing, but no one has really taken our teenagers of the world, in America at least, and like showing them the path to victory for life. Right. Mm-hmm. So when I was a kid, this is where the 15 years, because the world's changed in that 15 years between us. When I was a kid, it was indoctrinated that the only way to become successful is to go to college. The only way to become successful is to go to college. But then when you fast forward, people are putting themselves $100, $150, $200,000 in debt to go to these crazy colleges to get a degree, a piece of paper that most of the time it's not really their career path. To get a degree in something that's not even their career path. to get a $70,000 a year job. So they're never paying back their debt. Now, if you're going to be an attorney, a doctor, whatever, but even then, I mean, to put yourself in debt where you're 20 years in the future to get out, some seems a little messed up. So someone at, 10, 11, 12 should be teaching you about what is true happiness. Happiness isn't about money. To me, happiness is growth, right? If you're progressing in life, like when going to the martial arts world, when are people the most excited about martial arts? When they first get started, or when they're introduced to competition for the first time, or they get a weapon for the first time, something's new.
Yep.
They get their black belt, it renews their interest again. So that's how we're wired. You get a new pair of jeans, you're gonna wear them that day. Thinking about going on a vacation, the planning and all that's where the fun is. And in the moment it's fun, but then it's like a letdown afterwards. So you look forward to the next thing. That's why you always need something to pull you forward, right? You need a compelling future to pull you forward. So that potential, that's the thing that's kind of fueling me right now. It's like, all right, I know like right now I'm on a fitness and health journey. I think I don't like using the word diet or whatever. I think more now I'm trying to like, how do I sustain what I'm doing 20 years in the future? And so that's where the discipline comes in, and I feel better about myself, things like that. But like, I wish we're talking with your girlfriend today, like, and I wish someone when I was young, in my 20s, someone would have shown me, maybe somebody would have, I had to be receptive to it. But I thought that the path to victory was, man, if I could just make 100,000 a year, that I would have the life. And when you get there, you realize you got nothing. Money's not really the measure. What you can do with the money is pretty cool,
Or what you do with it. And going back to the potential thing, and I'll try. I'm still young, 27 years young, right? So I'm trying to figure out this game
I'm
of
young, bro.
life.
I'm young, bro.
I know,
I'm young.
and figure out
Look how good I look. I'm so young. So young.
getting younger every day, right?
That's it. That's the goal.
Trying to recognize themes and recurring feelings that I have, like almost like truly trying to figure out like who am I, looking from the outside in, or just thinking and asking certain questions. And something I've recognized recently is almost like the better of a day that I have, like more progress, more success. Later in the evening, those are almost some of the days where you have more of the self-doubt. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's like having a spike during the day and then there's an inevitable crash later that evening, or it's this innate feeling that I know that while it was a successful day judging my past self, maybe it wasn't a successful day going against my future self or my current self. Maybe there was a little bit more gas in the tank. Maybe I didn't leave it all out there on the field. Like that's something I'm still trying to figure out and get to know. It's like some of the best days have some of the worst nights. If I were to oversimplify that statement.
Well, you're an overthinker to start with.
Yeah,
that's your nature.
true.
So, but people want easy, safe, right? Safety, security, comfort. That's what people want. The reality is we're almost designed to go for that. And so let's say you achieve something. I know for a fact I've done this, and you probably have done this. Let's use simple things, right? You go win a competition. And you worked your ass off for it. You win a competition. Very rarely have you ever taken that win. And I say rarely because sometimes you're forced to because there's an event right behind it. There's staff, right? But when there's a 3-week or 4-week layoff, very rarely did you hit the ground running on Monday as hard as you did the week leading to the event. Typically, there's a little bit of a letdown, right? So there's this peak and you just won. There's a little bit before you kind of start the training in. I believe what that does is this is your peak. And what happens is you just keep bouncing against this peak instead of using that victory. And while you're chasing that, you already have the next thing stacked. So Nick Saban, coach at Alabama, he's coached at other places too, but probably one of, if not the greatest college football coach of all time. I heard him say this, and of course you think this is like bullshit, like this ain't real. But I believe it is real, somebody like him, that he'll win a national championship, which is the highest award you can win in the sport. And he'll allow himself to celebrate basically until the evening of the next day. He'll give him 24 hours. So let's say the game's typically, I think, on Monday night for a college championship like that. He'll give himself 24 hours. And then he starts going and watching film and recruiting and things like that for the next season. So like it's the pinnacle, it's the highest achievement you can win. He gives himself 24 hours and then he's back to work. which tells me like it is actually not the victory he's chasing. It is the chase is what you're chasing.
Yep.
And actually, you start thinking about it, it's like, when you're dating someone new for the first time, it's the chase of learning a new person that's exciting. And the reason why marriages fail sometimes, relationships fail, is because you stop the chase. The reason why businesses thrive at the beginning and then fall is because you're in love with your business, right? You're chasing it, and then you build up to a certain level, and then you get complacent because it actually becomes a secure thing. It becomes easy. So you become comfortable. When you become comfortable, you no longer reach. You and I were just talking a second ago. It's like, why don't you set the target every month in your business to do a certain target? Because you actually get safe and comfortable with what you're doing. And so we're human. That's why I'm leaning into, like, I'm scared as hell to allow a day, a week, a month, and I do it. Like, I know I've had weeks. I probably had a whole month of February where I'd let that happen for the whole month. I had a great January. I coasted in February, and you can't get time back. And if you go back and just beat yourself up, mad at yourself, you're not serving your future self, right?
Well, something on that note that I just recently came across a good way to somewhat explain it is the reason why having the goals or the next goal in mind is because your brain does not like to think or exert tons of energy. So if you have a goal, but you don't come up with the steps for it, then you're probably not going to reach that goal because you're going to have to figure it out as you're going. But if you have the goal, you reverse engineer it, you come up with all the steps, then come up with the next goal, reverse engineer it. Your brain can go on autopilot and just follow the steps that you laid out in front of it. And you're going to more likely reach that because it's taking less of the brain power. It goes into energy conservation mode. It doesn't want to constantly have to, what am I going to do today? Oh, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. It's going to wear itself out. You're going to lose the energy from that. But if you can always have that next step and have the plan in place for it, you're more likely to fall into autopilot in a good way that takes you to the next.
So I'll give you context to that. So I use this skill in my business that I get from one of my business mentors, a guy named Brandon Dawson, and it's poor, okay, average, good, great, excellent, remarkable. And don't even want to talk about poor or average. Don't even really want to talk about good. But I want to start from the top. Remarkable. Remarkable is when you're first to do something, first to do it, you're the best to do it, and you're innovative. So when I was running martial arts business, I wanted to be the first one to do something. I wanted to be the best to do it. Like, I wanted to set the bar so high people were chasing me. And really, honestly, not for other people to chase, I wanted to set the bar high enough so I had to reach it, like, because the chase is really the growth, right? And then innovate. So I remember one time I'm training on my team. They had all the locations in one building, trained together for a weekend. And, we were doing multi-million-dollar business a year in martial arts business. And I set the target. It's like, you know what? I want to be the first one ever to do $1 million in 1 month through martial arts schools, right? I didn't know anybody who owned schools that did $1 million in 1 month. Maybe it's been out there before and I just don't even know what it is. I doubt it, right? At the time, the best month I ever had was $500,000. Had a couple months where we hit $500,000. But man, doubling that sounds. While I'm saying this to my team, I was like, you know what? Scrap that. I don't like the word someday. We're gonna do it this year. And we knew our best month was always November. So I was like, we're gonna do it this November. So this was in May. What I started doing is every staff training that we had or virtual meeting that we did, I was talking about, hey guys, remember, we're doing $1 million in the month of November. So I'm planting the seed. And really for them, more so for me. So then what happened was, while I'm sleeping at night, I would literally be processing how am I going to do $1 million? It's never been done. How am I going to double? So you start becoming creative. Well, I would wake up with thoughts. Like, my wife was always like, yeah, you can't sleep tonight, and it's not because I'm restless, but it's like the world is quiet enough so I can hear my thoughts in a sense. So I'd wake up, pen and paper, right? I mean, I've got one here. I'm going to go through in a second, but I would write stuff down. So fast forward 30 days before the event, and I've created a strategy mentally. I think it's going to get us there. So what I did is I created a worksheet. I gave it to all the team members. We're all together again a month before the event. And I created a worksheet, and I says, all right, guys, we're going to do the math based on your people and your business, right? Here's the things we're going to sell. Here's the opportunities we have in front of us. So I created the opportunities. They then did the math based on their students, based on statistics from years before. And then everybody did their math. Then what we did is we just totaled up the math. Okay, I told you this before. So we totaled the math. The math came out that if everybody just did what we thought we're going to do anyway, we'd actually do $3.2 million in 1 month. Instead of 1 million, we do 3.2.
So that million's not even as.
So then what it did is now everyone, instead of thinking million's scary, like holy hell, how are we gonna do 1 million? It's too scary, we can't do it. Now it's like, shit, if we don't do 1 million, we suck. Right? It shifted because now 1 million's a third of what we actually think is our potential. We ended up doing in the first 3 weeks of that month, we did 1.1 million. Then we closed for a week there. Everybody paid time off for Thanksgiving. We ended up doing 1.2 million in the course of the whole month. And you know, I don't think it's ever been done before in the martial arts school space. That probably will never be done again, honestly, until I build another empire one day or something. We'll figure that out. But it goes down to is like when you set a goal, your brain is going to process and work it out, problem solve. And I think what we don't do is we don't set targets big enough. Throw my phone down. We don't set targets big enough. We don't set enough targets, and then we build our dreams. We build our dreams based on the reality that we're surrounded. So like you're only going to set a target based on I did 10,000 last month. I think I can do 15. That would be hard. Instead of saying shit, if I did 10,000 last month, how do I do 100K?
Yeah.
Because in your mind you're like I can't do 100, so you don't even set the target.
But something that
So why aren't you going to do 100K next month?
I don't know. Let's do it.
Right? Because if you set that as a target, I bet you could figure it out.
Yep.
Because you start asking different questions.
100%.
You would go to different clients. You would have to add new product.
It would force the move. And before I forget, I'm going.
Yeah, go ahead.
Taking a couple steps back.
We'll wrap this up.
When you did that drill with your team, came up with the 3.3 and then the million. It's not so much that it became more achievable. I think what you interjected in them was belief, and like something that I've recognized through like my name's Reid and I read a lot, right? So something that I've recognized across through that is people have to, it doesn't matter if I tell you you can do something, you tell me I can do something, or 1 million people tell me that I can do something. If I don't believe or trust myself to be, it's truly, totally internal. Exterior doesn't matter. It goes back to the thing I said earlier about controlling. You created belief. You were able to give them the belief that they could do it.
Right.
And so it became inevitable and they actually did 100,000.
It's hard.
So
it's
like,
hard as hell, though. I'll tell you that. But yes, you're right. Belief is. My dad. So most of my life I've been overweight, and my dad wasn't. My dad didn't understand me, and you know, I love food. Two, also food was comfort for me. Right, food was comfort because when you're younger, you don't know how to necessarily express certain thoughts. So like, my dad was a massive athlete, great competitor, martial arts, all this kind of stuff, and it didn't come easy to me. So my dad wanted me to be a champion. He wanted me to be in the shape he was in. And it wasn't until I was older as a teenager when I recognized like, hey, just because my body's, almost pre-designed to be a heavier build doesn't mean I can't be in the physical conditioning and the mental, right? But I had to believe I could. So then I had to learn how to use education and discipline. You can't solve someone's problems for them. You can help them be steered, but you can only educate them so then they choose. And that's where the belief comes in. Massively do that. Speaking of belief, kind of wrap up this episode with this. So I've got so many journals, and I got ones in the rooms as thoughts come to me when I hear something, but this kind of goes in exactly with what we're talking about here. And so I wrote on here, it says, you want the things like houses and boats, etc., is how it makes you feel. So every time I'm like, why do I want that? Why do I want to go buy this car? Why do I want to buy this house? Right. I recently bought a car. I've been shopping for a car. I like sports cars. Shopping for a car. I actually bought a car that I didn't think I was going to buy. The moment after I bought it, it's like I don't want it anymore. Right. So like, why do I want that? What does it represent? Right. So then the question is, what emotion, right? What emotion am I, or are you, me, you, anyone chasing? So like when you're looking for something shining in your life, you want a business, a house, a relationship, a vacation, whatever, you want it because of how it makes you feel. So what is the emotion of what you feel when you have that new thing in your life, right? So, and it's not just the tangible things. It could be a relationship. If you want to develop a relationship with someone, it could be a business relationship, personal relationship, whatever. But What's the emotion you can get from that? And then it's like, all right, how can I get that feeling? That's really all we're chasing, right? Like, and I see the memes all the time, like, oh, you can have the life you want, whatever, living on your terms, so listen to other people. No one ever actually does it. No one ever actually just quits their job and, I mean, very few people. Maybe I did that, um, but so what's the emotion? How do you get it sooner? And then how can you have more of it? Right. So these are questions I'm asking myself. So I'm just kind of bringing that, right? So every time I feel like there's something out there, and I do think we need more stuff to chase. I think that's where you and I sometimes fall short is we're not setting the chase big enough. We're not setting a goal big enough, right? And we can do it with money. Money's easy. Money, you can set a target and go after it. But when it comes to business, like somebody we know is asking, like, what business should I invest in or go buy? I'm like, what do you want to? Like, it doesn't have to be all perfectly calculated, right? But money's easy. Business gets a little tougher. Relationships, I guarantee you and I are not doing a good job about relationships. We're not doing a good job of like, I want to get to know that person. I want to be closer attached to that person. I'm trying to do that. We had a guest come speak at our event a couple weeks ago named Damon West, and
Coffee bean.
right? And it was powerful. And I basically took a playbook out of my character, and sometimes what happens is you have certain things about yourself that sometimes can intimidate other people or even yourself. And so like I'm a person that sometimes I just jump, figure this shit out later. And I remember I'm literally on Instagram and I see him. I'm like, man, I'm about to buy his book. Like I DM'd him. I was like, hey, how much does it cost to get you to come speak? Right. I still haven't bought his book, but I had him come speak, which I think is more powerful. So now I have a relationship. I could text him right now if I wanted to. Right. But what are the other relationships we should be chasing like that? And so but when you are chasing, what's the emotion? What am I trying to get from? Right. Do I want to get more known? Does that make me feel better about myself? Does that give me more confidence? Am I trying to prove that I'm successful to someone else? Or is it a chip on my shoulder? What's the real emotion? I think I don't have an answer. I'm just telling you, like, that's what I'm working on right now. I'm trying to, like, every time I want to go after something, even building this out, like, no one might watch this except your mama.
I know. I hope so.
Your mom and my mom might be the only two watching this thing, right? But you know what? That's the case. If this is nothing but therapy for me and you, okay, it's a win.
Yeah.
It cost me 20 grand to build this out. All right.
It's such a tricky question. And I think it's one that I need to maybe when I'm like write down my goals every day, like what emotion, what feeling, what am I chasing? Because I don't have an answer to that.
I don't have the answer.
One thing that kind of pops in is a little bit of like validate, like you're validating the good work, you're chasing the right thing. When you're trying to build something on your own and you're trying to do things that other people haven't done, there is like almost zero validation that you're going in the right direction. So like maybe it's something like that, or feeling that you actually impact or change. So like I can't put into words yet what that is. Once I figure it out, then might be able to kind of build your life around that.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't have an answer. I just know that I'm trying to lean in a little bit to why do I want to chase certain things? What's emotion? What's it going to make me feel? Because look, if you're going to live one life, you got one life. That's it. One trip. So all the shit that we think matters, like how many tournaments have you won? Can't all matter. Ain't nobody care. Nobody cares. And people think, oh, why would you say it like that? The reality is, who cares? You care.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the reason why. It helped build you to the character that you are, and it taught you, hopefully, taught you how to go after something. What's the discipline it takes to get there, the work it takes to get there. So even building a business, one of my mentors has bought, built, and sold 5 companies. I'm mega money, right? He's selling these things for 9 figures, 10 figures, like just crazy. And he's done it 5 times, and he's 10 years in the future of me. So when you're talking about like there's people doing crazy stuff, right? So, but same thing is like, why am I chasing some of the stuff I'm chasing? Why do I need to have a certain car or house or go on a certain trip? There's an emotion that I'm trying to get. There's something deep seated that I'm trying to either validate, feel, right? And we all want kind of the same things in life. You want to feel love, you want to give love, you want to have some significance in life. There's certain stables that we all need, but I guess I'm trying to be more mature when I go after something. think that's part of getting older, right?
Yeah.
But you know, why? It's a good question to ask, right?
Yeah.
Why do you want to? What are you actually trying to get? Because once you get there, I'm gonna tell you this: the more successful, you've already recognized this in some parts. The more successful you become, the lonelier it becomes. The less people understand you. They actually will try to pull you down to a level of being more like them. And I grew up in this house, super small home, and I look back to that life. And there's people, I guarantee I can go back to that neighborhood. There's people still there.
Yep.
Right. I moved when I was 10 years old from that house. So 30 plus years ago. I bet you there's people in that neighborhood still there and don't know any different. Yeah, they might be happy, by the way.
Yeah.
Right. Happiness is, you know, a choice, really, is what it really is. But
Something I saw that resonated was like happiness is when expectations are met. So
right.
sometimes people will build a life
With
subconsciously
no expectations.
where, well, no, or small,
Right.
or maybe losing is their expectation. So by the byproduct of that is they do find some sense of security or happiness
Yeah.
in loss.
Right.
Because it's maybe
It's
easier.
probably
to
what my
do that.
football team does. They like to lose.
Yeah. So
That might be their
so,
expectation. Shit. I don't know.
before I forget, one of that feeling,
Yeah.
maybe something that kind of bounces around is the goal to chase. Because like right now, it's not for me. It's not necessarily cars. It's not necessarily a house. I need to get
It's
better
women.
at picking
Women.
it up. No, I got an awesome one, sir.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
It's not necessarily even a dollar amount, which part of me feels like I need to kind of have that as
Right.
something to chase, but it's that freedom to impact. Like freedom is not necessarily escape the rat race or whatever that means, but more so like I do want to bring more character development to society. I do want to change the world in some measurement, and freedom to think, freedom to act, freedom to do what it would take to have that change. Sometimes it is a financial thing that does that, but I'm not looking for financial freedom. It's a part of that, but it's the freedom to impact, freedom to actually make change. And something that I learned recently of having more time on my plate is a little taste of that freedom to do things that you feel like has that benefit. And then the second thing that I wanted to say in regards to the loneliness thing and relationships, kind of a two-parter, is I'm trying to get better, whether it's with Kenna, with my family, and I'm not doing great at it right now. Trying, or I should start saying I'm training. I'm training to get better at it.
Right.
Is asking how they're doing. But on the same note, something 75 Hard taught me this time was, you know, not always putting in information, but having that still quiet moments where I'm trying to ask myself how I'm doing at the same time. So it's like, while I need to ask Kenna more often, how are you doing? I need to take the time to actually ask myself too and see what comes, whether it's a thought that I have or maybe it's something God's trying to tell me in that moment, but creating that time to ask, because sometimes you do find yourself by yourself and have that lonely. So you need to be able to reflect in your hearts. So
It's always a good question to ask. Hey, thanks for joining us. We'll see you on the next episode.